Okay, we're going to get started. Our speaker tonight, Heidi Ganahl, former candidate for governor and the founder of Rocky Mountain Voice. Give it up for Heidi.
Hello, guys. How you doing tonight? Who stayed up like really late last night? Yeah, you guys, if I like tilt over or I slur my words, it was a crazy cool night. I was in DC last night, actually. I just flew back this afternoon. And it wasn't as crazy in the town as I thought it would be, but we went to 2 different clubs and stayed out to about 3 in the morning and just watched all the results come in. And probably 10 times today, I got the question either over text or a phone call or just in person, Heidi, what do we do? Colorado did not have good results last night. Like, it was bad. What did Trump lose by, 14 here? Yeah, it was really bad. And we had some ballot measures go through. And that's the question everybody asks me. Is like, what do we do? How do we turn things around? It feels like it's never going to happen. I give up. I'm like, well, don't give up. I wanted to too, 2 years ago, almost exactly to this night, or last night, when I lost the governor's race. And I thought, man, I just poured my heart and soul into this. And I thought we had a pretty good plan for how to navigate against Polis's money. I was very naive to think that you could outwork the money. It's really hard to do. I know a lot of you have seen races like that where people are like, I'm just a good enough grassroots candidate, I can make it happen. And it's really tough. So at the end of the day, Polis spent about $33 million in our race. And he doesn't do it through his campaign account. He did $12 million through his campaign account. They do it through all their little nonprofits, right? Their political nonprofits. They have this web of nonprofits in this state. And then we had about $5 million total to get through the primary and the general election. And so money does matter, but I thought there's more to the story. Like, I know the blueprint, I know how they set all this up, but how do we fight this? And so what I did is I made it my mission to go travel around the country to previously blue states that had flipped red and said, how the hell did you do this? Like, what did you tactically do to shift a blue state red? I don't want to hear the fluffy talking points. I want to hear the actual plan. And I learned so much. Went to Florida, went to Ohio, went to Wisconsin, or talked to people in Wisconsin. Spent most of my time in Texas. Texas was a blue state, and then it turned red, and then it went back to blue. It's kind of been back and forth, right? Last night, they had pretty good results. Ted Cruz did not have a hard time winning. In the last couple of years, they've been able to push back on the Ken Paxton impeachment. He's the attorney general. And they were also able to flip 9 House seats in this not this election, but last fall to get school choice passed, hopefully in January. And so they've been very effective. And so one of the things that I loved about going to Texas was they were like, come see everything. We want to share this. We want you to be able to duplicate the model that we've worked so hard over the last 7 to 8 years to do, so that you can try it and see if it works in a blue state. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'm a franchise girl. I spent my whole career building a franchise company, Camp Bow Wow, the dog company. And so the franchise model, of course, is you've got your headquarters and you build all this support and services, and then you push it out to all the franchisees, right? And so you've got all the franchisees that are all looking towards a common vision, but you have support and services for all of them. And that's kind of the model they built in Texas. And so I thought, I don't know if this will work in Colorado or not, but it might be worth a try. And then if it works in Colorado, we can take what they learned there, try it here, then we can try it in other states. And so this was about 6 months of planning to write the strategic plan for Colorado. We call it the Road to Red initiative, based on what they've done. And then we had to fundraise for it. And I knew I needed to raise about $500,000 to launch it. And it took about 6 months. And here's the problem, you guys. You're coming into Colorado with a different model, right? Like a totally different model. You've got consultants who are holding on to the donors for dear life. You've got grassroots activists who are like, we don't trust you. You're just starting another consulting firm. And then you've got this starry-eyed vision of bringing people together and collaborating and going kumbaya, and we're going to build this new model and everybody's going to be great. And so it takes a long time to build people's trust, like to get people to trust you. That was the biggest challenge. And so we ended up raising the money in time to launch it at the beginning of this year in January. And It's been a really, really awesome experience. We've seen tons of progress. I have 3 members of my amazing team here. So Amanda Harden. Amanda, say hello to everybody. Amanda is one of our Rocky Mountain Voice ambassadors. She focuses on the gun rights movement and hunting, et cetera. And then Lacey Williams, she worked for Turning Point for many years, and Lacey does all of our social media and an influencer program and lots of the digital stuff. And then Tori, my daughter, helps us run the content side. So if you're on the newsletter, if you get we see the website, a lot of the writing, the content, Tori manages that part and the marketing. So let me tell you just real quickly what it is, and then I want to talk more about how this applies to Colorado and how you can actually use this to grow your own group and to rebuild the conservative/libertarian movement, which I consider those 2 things together. We don't talk about Republican in this effort, you guys. We talk about the conservative movement, and I'm very libertarian. I always have been. But I just went a different way. I decided, I want to reform the conservative/Republican Party into more libertarian-ish rather than kind of growing the Libertarian Party to win elections. And I'm fine with both. Like, I think we've got to have both, really. I think the pressure is really good. You saw that in this election over the last couple days. So, let's see. There's 3 problems that keep us from winning. And they're the same 3 problems that apply to a lot of the states that are having issues right now. The first one, come on. No, I'm okay, Tor. Let me see if I can. There we go. So the first problem is that we can't get our message out. We've got a liberal media stronghold in Colorado. If you do an interview with the Denver Post or 9 News or Colorado Public Radio, you spend 30 minutes with them, and the headline is completely different than anything you talked about. And you're like, what the heck just happened? We talked all about policy, and they're saying that I want to burn the damn city down or do whatever bad thing that they come up with that week. And so they're very coordinated, and they all get their funding from a lot of the same people, namely Jared Polis in Colorado and the 4 billionaires that you've heard so much about. So that's a real problem, and it's hard to get through to people with our messaging. We have great solutions to a lot of the problems that Colorado's facing, but we can't get through to the voters, right? So what did we need to do? We needed to build a successful news organization to broadcast, and we call it real news, like not just biased misinformation propaganda that they usually put out, but to get real news to real Coloradans. Like the heart of our people need to know what's really going on. And so what they did in Texas is they built Texas Scorecard, which is a big news organization. It doesn't sound like it. It started out kind of a different way. But they've got 1 million plus people that get their news from Texas Scorecard, and they don't have to pay attention to the Dallas Morning News or the Houston Chronicle or a lot of the TV stations down there that are so biased. And it works really well. So we launched our version called Rocky Mountain Voice. And eventually we'll be in Utah, Wyoming, Montana, and the Dakotas. But right now we started in Colorado. And we have a couple kind of mission statements. It's building trust through truth, pro-citizen, pro-liberty, pro-Colorado, inspiring the next generation of Coloradans, and honoring our heritage of rugged individualism. Like, we want to get back to the Wild West, the way Colorado used to be, and we're not that anymore. And so what Rocky Mountain Voice is, it's not complicated, you guys. It's a website where we aggregate news, so we bring in libertarian, conservative news from across Colorado, so you don't have to go around to 15 different websites, and we update it 3 or 4 times a day. We probably have how many articles a day on the site? 20, 25? 25. Yeah, from around Colorado. And national, too. We sprinkle in a little national with it, too. We've also got a speakers bureau on the site, so we've had some amazing speakers listed on there. Some are free, some cost money, but so that when you guys host events, you can look and see what connections we have. And if any of you want to be on the speakers bureau, you're more than welcome to. We have a form that you fill out, give us your biopic, and you can be offered as a speaker across Colorado. The second thing is we have a calendar on there where we list events. And so we're putting events from all over Colorado, liberty-loving events that people can find, and soon you'll be able to filter it by area or topic. And then we have our Mountain Minute newsletter. So every day, almost every day, we have a 5-minute read of the news that comes out, drops in your inbox, and you can click through to the articles and read the news. And we have a political cartoon. It's pretty quick, it's fun, and it's easy to read. We have about 150,000 people in Colorado that goes out to every day, and it's growing really quickly. Why is this important? It's important because you guys need to know what's going on in our state, to talk to your friends, your neighbors, to get the word out about the solutions that we have that are different than the liberal media. And the way you do that is by having a tool like this that you can send to people, forward to people, tell people to go get their news there. We also have podcasts and radio stations on there. And it's grown tremendously since the first of the year. We also host events, and we have a whole outreach team, which Amanda's part of. We call them Rocky Mountain Ambassadors. If anybody wants to be one, it's really fun. You go to events. We give you like shirts to wear, stuff to hand out. It's about building community and making it fun again to be part of our movement all over Colorado. And we're not going to just conservative places, you guys. We're going to fairs, festivals, parades. We're hosting our own events. We've had 2 Rocky Mountain Rumbles. And really, it's just about building community and doing what our parties sometimes should be doing, but they aren't. So the second problem is that we have bad data and technology. If you guys have ever run a race or you've knocked on doors, you know that every 2 years we got to start over again. It's like, what data are we using? What app are we using? How do we use the app? Oh, that data is good. That data is bad. We don't have email addresses. We don't have cell phone numbers. So we invested in all the voter data in Colorado for unaffiliateds and Republicans, and we have that. And we have a lot of email addresses, we have cell phone numbers, and we are willing to share it with any group who wants to be part of this rebuilding this movement, including you guys. And so what does that look like? We have you go on Nucleus, which is a technology platform, and you can create emails, you can do events through it. It's like Salesforce, Evite, and MailChimp all in one. But you can't get canceled. Like, you can send things out. It's built by conservatives and run by conservatives, and it's free for you. Like, I go out and raise the money so that you guys can use the technology for free. And we do not sell any data. We don't share any data. If you put your data on there, it's yours. And we have to ask to do anything with that data. It's very important to us. But here's the cool thing. Say you guys want to double the size of your group. We can look at demographic data like, okay, you want to be in this 10-mile radius or 1-mile radius around Independence Institute. We want people who typically vote conservative, or it might have the libertarian tags. I can't remember if it has those in. And we want to invite them to our next event. And so we can send a text message out to 1,000 people and say, hey, would you like to come to the next Liberty on the Rocks? And we can't give the data, but we can reach out on your behalf. And all of a sudden, you're reaching people that hadn't known about you in the past, and that helps you grow your group. And it just helps you get more organized. It's a really cool platform. So we offer that to our groups that are part of the Road to Red project, and then we help to rebuild this movement. The other thing that we do is we try and bring all the groups around Colorado. So there's hundreds of little groups around Colorado just like this, right? And everybody has their own independent personality, like each group does, right? And that's part of the beauty of who we are. We're not the Democrats that just join a big blob and do what they tell us to do. And so instead of starting one new big organization and asking everybody to be part of it, we help your individual group grow and flourish and do better so that we have 1,000 lights on the hill, right? And so we've got 100 different groups right now that we're helping all over Colorado. And we don't charge you anything. We've got a great team of strategists who can help you with technology, fundraising, compliance, marketing, whatever you need. And it's ultimately there to help you grow and build strong and get bigger. Because if we can double everybody's size in the next year, by the time the 25 elections happen, we're going to be a lot more effective. We're going to have more volunteers. We're going to have the ability to communicate with all of you and activate you. If we can double again by 26, so say we go from 100 members now to 200 next year to 400 the following year, all of a sudden we've got our army of people that we need across the state to win elections again. So that's the way they did it in Texas. It worked really well, and that's what we're in the process of doing right now. And it's really fun, too. We're trying to get all the groups talking to each other and sharing ideas. We're going to have a big summit in March, a big dinner and workshops, et cetera. We have a private Facebook group where everybody shares ideas back and forth, the leaders do. And then we also do trainings. So Greg Carlson just did a training on Robert's Rules, how to run a meeting appropriately. Or you might have a training on how to run a social media, or how to get started on social media and grow, or how to write a great newsletter, whatever it is that your group needs. So it's really to professionalize all of your groups around the state and make everybody bigger and stronger, and hopefully do what the Democrats do get more organized and powerful, but do it in a way that honors our independent spirit and not telling you how to run your group. There's no purity test, you guys. You're going to look at some of the groups that we help, and there's no list either. We don't publicize who we help. And you're going to be like, oh, we don't agree with them at all. Well, you know what? A lot of people do, and everybody has different personalities and different takes on things. Let's just honor that and get everybody agreeing on 80% of the things so that we can all vote and win elections again in Colorado. So that I won't go through too much. We can create coaching plans for your groups. We can help you create metrics and measure your metrics. Like if you want to get to 10,000 followers on Facebook, we'll help you do that. So there's two different groups here. There's the 501c3, which is the Rocky Mountain Voice. That's the news organization and the community organization. And then the Road to Red, which is rebuilding the grassroots movement one group at a time. And we'd love to help you guys if you want. You don't need to sign up. There's no contracts. It's up to you if you want to use the technology or not. But the technology lets you tap into all the data, the voter data, so that you can grow or reach out to people if you're going to host events and stuff like that. So when people ask me, what do we do? What do we do? Well, I'm a business person, so when I want to do something, I go find someone who's done it before, if there is somebody, and I learn what they did that works, and I don't use what they did that didn't work, and we just try it. And that's what we've been doing the last year, and it's working really well. It's not perfect, but it's pretty awesome, and it's a plan, right? We haven't had a plan in a while. And so there are other people doing great things, and we've all got a place kind of in the movement to do our thing and build and grow, but this is what we've decided to invest our time and energy into, and I think it's going to make a difference. As an example, we did our Election Day Dash, which was a partnership with Turning Point, where we used the Turning Point app to help you guys access voter data to call, text, and write postcards to voters in swing states or in CD3. That's been available over the last couple months. We also helped a group, an election integrity group, start a citizen Dropbox watch program, which they did awesome. They created a training program and taught people, the public, about the legalities of what you can do or not do when you're watching Dropboxes, because the cameras are so bad you can't see what's going on, and it defeats the purpose of all of our tax dollars used to monitor the Dropboxes. So those are examples of how we're organizing and getting people activated and using our Road to Red groups to actually make a difference, and it's been really exciting. And our goal next year is just get bigger, stronger, build more trust and community and collaboration among everyone. So that's what we're up to. I want to leave it open to questions, and I'm happy to talk about any of these angles, or we can talk about the whole election integrity audit I just did in Douglas County, too. There's been a lot of questions about that. It's pretty interesting. If you have any questions about that and what we found. Sure. Sure. So after the election, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. One of the other candidates in Douglas County, I live in Douglas County, said to me, I just lost in an R+10 district, like a Republican district that should have won by 10 points. It was Kurt Huffman. And this was in 22. And he lost his House race there, and he was an incumbent. And we were all like, what the heck just happened there? He's a good candidate. That's weird. So we asked the secretary or the clerk for a recount. And it was a Republican clerk, not the one that's in there now, because he was just leaving. And he showed up the next morning with a letter from Jenna Griswold and said, you're not doing it the way you want to do it. Like, no. And we were like, what? So then we go through the CORA, Freedom of Information Act, and asked for access to the paper ballots, and they wanted $212,000 for us to see it. And we're like, well, that's weird too. Like, why are they trying to hide this? What's going on? So the next year and a couple months we spent with an attorney, spent tens of thousands of dollars and a lot of time trying to get access to those paper ballots and learn what was going on. And we did. This last April, we brought in scanners, and we were able to scan 83,000 paper ballots in high resolution to take a look at them and to compare them to the cast vote record and the other things, just to make sure things were on the up and up. We're still evaluating those. It's very expensive. It takes a long time, and we have a forensic analyst looking at them. But what we did discover was the county clerk told us, and the Secretary of State had told us, there's no remote access, there's no ability to connect to the Wi-Fi through the tabulators. And yes, there was. In Douglas County, we looked at the purchase order for the machines, and we brought it up publicly and found out that there were 12 more counties. Just 12. There's only 12 counties that have this. And I'm like, but you said there were none. And so that was the first weird thing. The second weird thing was we did an audit of the post offices. The post offices, when they get undeliverable ballots back, like when the ballots get returned for bad addresses or nobody's there anymore at that address, they are supposed to invoice the county clerks for those ballots, and that's how they track how many undeliverable ballots are, and then they return them to the county clerk's office, but they track them on these invoices. We looked at 11 counties. 2 of the counties looked fine. 9 of the counties, there were 30,000 undeliverable ballots that were unaccounted for. Like, just weren't invoiced for. So they sent them out, they got them back, and no one knows where they went. This is in 9 counties, just 9 counties. And we asked questions, and the guy who ran the audit met with the post office, met with the clerks. Hey, we just all group it together. There's other stuff in there. You can't really track it. Well, that's against the law. The law is they have to track it. So we're going to be holding their feet to the fire with core requests in the next few weeks about those, probably a month or 2 from now, about those invoices. The third problem was the drop boxes are not monitored. The cameras are horrible. They're low quality. They're supposed to legally be high quality enough to submit as evidence in court, and hardly any of them are across the state. There's 400 plus drop boxes. And they're pointed in the wrong direction. You can't see anything. If something nefarious was going on, there's no way to see their face, their license plate, or how many ballots they're putting in the box. Now, legally, you can put up to 10 ballots in a drop box. 10 ballots, that's it. But you guys have all heard the stories about ballot harvesting and what they do. And so we just said, we just want to make sure no one's breaking the law. They're like, no one does break the law. We're like, we just want to make sure no one's doing it. And so we looked at the laws for what does it take to be a Dropbox watcher. If the cameras aren't going to do the job, what does it take? They were crazy, you guys. You have to go through a training. You have to get a certificate. You have to tell the Secretary of State or the clerk what Dropbox you're going to watch, when you're going to be there. You're not allowed to video. You're not allowed to photograph. You're not allowed to be on your phone. And we were like, that's not right. So our attorney said that's a violation of the First Amendment. And so we fought back, and we got the ability to, for the public to watch Dropboxes without any of those restrictions. If you go register with your clerk, you have to follow all those restrictions. It's typical government BS. So we launched that about a month ago, and we had hundreds of people volunteer to do this, and we trained them how to do it. And I don't have final numbers on how many did or what we discovered. We also created an app where people could upload pictures and video and incident reports, and we'll see how that plays out. But the biggest thing it did, you guys, was prevent them from doing nefarious things that they were going to. Like, it just put an alert out, like, we're watching. The cameras are supposed to be, and they're not. Those are our tax dollars at work. So we're going to do the job for you. And the Democrats were ticked, and they were very angry, yelled at our attorney, and just, yeah, they were mad at the Secretary of State's office for the attorney for saying that we could do this. But it's the First Amendment rights of citizens. So that's what we just did. And you've seen in the last couple of weeks, all kinds of stuff has come out about the elections in Colorado and what's happening. So we're going to keep their feet to the fire. We're going to hold them accountable for fixing a lot of these problems. The biggest issue in our elections is there's no one holding their feet to the fire. There's no independent outside auditors coming in and saying, the signature verification process works. Well, it didn't work in Mesa County. Or the voting rolls are clean, and you're following the process that you're supposed to follow. They're not. And that's a problem. And so we need someone from the outside that's certified or a forensic expert to make sure that the process is right. And same with the machines, the whole thing. And so I think people are finally to the point where they're brave enough to ask questions and brave enough to hold our public officials' feet to the fire. I got called reckless and conspiracy theorist just 1 month ago, or a little over a month ago, when I did the press conference and came out with this stuff. And now it's like a whole different story. So I think things are starting to come out. And if you're more interested in this, I'm happy to connect you with the group. It's called Colorado Institute for Fair Elections. That's the group of volunteers who have been working on a lot of this stuff. They're a great group. If you want to get involved, I would suggest you volunteer with them. And they're doing all kinds of cool stuff. So,
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So you sort of touched on it. So recently, the Secretary of State accidentally released BIOS passwords to several voting machines, and the Libertarian Party of Colorado sued them over it.
Yes.
And I believe the Republicans sent a strongly worded letter. Just curious on what your thoughts are on the whole situation.
No, I was really proud of the Libertarian Party for doing that. Like, that's taking it to the next level. And of course, they poo-pooed it. Did you guys listen to the hearing? It was fascinating. And the judge just basically shut down the experts and wouldn't let them
It
see
was
it.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like this guy is like a clear expert. He lays it all out. Nope.
I know.
Oh, and if you weren't there, if you didn't hear it, the reason was because he didn't, with 20 years of experience hacking into election machines or whatever, he has not hacked into a currently used Colorado system.
So, it's like, are you kidding? And the sad thing is the attorney didn't think to go, okay, well, explain the difference then. Why? How are these all different and more secure now? But anyway.
Yeah, it was very unfortunate, and this is the problem, you guys. If our gold standard elections are so great, then just be transparent and honest about all of it. Answer questions, take the heat, do a debate. Let us put the experts against each other and see how it plays out. Like, that's all we want. We want the truth, and it goes back to why we're doing Rocky Mountain Voice, which really is an army of citizen journalists across the state. Our fine gentleman here, Jimmy, has written for us many times. And it's really important that we start holding these people accountable to tell the truth. They work for us. And that's what Rocky Mountain Voice is about doing. It's what the Libertarian Party suing the Secretary of State is about the strongly worded letter is about. But we got to take it to the next level. And now I think with Elon and Vivek and Trump's on fire, JD, like, that's, I think, their mission is to just, I think they want to tear down this secrecy around our government and how it operates, which, God bless them, I hope they can do it. I think they can. I feel pretty confident. But.
Hey.
Hi.
So kind of a weird question. So I've been a libertarian for a while. I was involved in local Republican politics for a couple election cycles, and I was disgusted how non-functional it was. And I think the last time I was trying to be involved was like 2016. So I really, it's been a long time. But I was just wondering, I love the speech, your speech is awesome and everything, but you've ignored the Republican part of Colorado, and maybe that's on purpose, but I'm wondering what your thoughts are on like the GOP in Colorado and what you're doing with them, or fairly open question, but.
Yeah, no, I get it. And we follow the Reagan rule. We try and speak ill of no one that's at least willing to agree on 80% of the things. And so I have a lot of friends in the grassroots movement that are very committed to people running the party, and I have friends who can't stand that side of the thing. So what we've decided to do is just not pick a side and support people who want support and go where people want help and approach it that way. And we don't necessarily pay attention to what's going on over there. We just do the work. And it's worked out pretty well so far. Like, we've stayed out of the fray for the most part. In Rocky Mountain Voice, we do the same thing there. We try not to write negative things. There's plenty of negative stuff already out there about everything going on in the party, the Libertarian Party, the Republican Party. And so we don't want to add fuel to that fire. So we just want to kind of be happy warriors and provide productive solutions to how to fix things instead of focusing on what's broken. So I know that's kind of a fluffy answer, but that's our approach.
Yeah, quick question. I know we've talked about election a lot, but I follow crypto a lot, and there's enormous amounts of new research papers coming out about doing elections on blockchain that are auditable, where you can actually see your own vote that has been counted and all this stuff. Are there initiatives to push this through so that we can get rid of all this paper and boxes and surveillance and all this nonsense?
We need someone to lead that. I'm serious.
Yeah.
I think if you came forward with a plan and a proposal, why not test it? I think it's the way of the future. And we've got to do things totally different than we've been doing them. We saw that yesterday, right? And the differences in the states, like the difference between Florida and Arizona and how they approach their elections is crazy. And so if there's new technology, I think Elon and the guys that are leading the government forward now would be absolutely open to that. So I think it's a conversation we have to have.
Hey, Heidi.
Hi, Scott.
I was raised in a middle-class family, and I was curious, do you feel unburdened by what has been?
I feel very unburdened since 12 hours ago. Yes, I do. I'm very happy about the results and what's going on. I think it's a new day in America.
Hi.
Hi.
So I do see a lot of optimism here. I'm gonna be the guy on the other side.
Sure.
Just to be disclaimer, I come from Europe, and I think United States, every single election cycle is slowly going towards that side.
Yeah.
I think we're screwed. There's no way back. But specifically about Colorado, I think your premise, your project is on the premise that there are people that want those things, and we just are not able to find them.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to question that it's even the case, because I've spoken to people about what happened in Aurora and all the bullshit that is happening, and they're all like, yeah, I'm fine paying 3% more in sales tax in Denver to pay for those services. And that reminds me a lot of those, like in communist Russia, there were people that were whipped on the back by the Communist Party, and they still were loyal to that. So I guess my pessimistic side, I don't think we have people that want those things.
Yeah.
They actually want the opposite. That is my experience.
I think there's a lot of people that do, to your point. And we've got to light a fire under People for Liberty, right? We've got to teach them the beauty of freedom and having rugged individualism and living the life that Colorado was created around, that new frontier, the wild, wild west. That's who we are. That's why people want to move here, theoretically. Now, they don't always vote that way, but it's like, I call it frogs in boiling water right now. Like, it's just turning it up, and all of a sudden your car gets broken into, and all of a sudden you don't have money to go out because you're spending so much on groceries, and all of a sudden you get kicked out of your place and you can't find a place you can afford to rent. Oh, crap. And it's frog in boiling water. Like, at some point the water's going to get so hot that you're going to be like, we got to do something different. And I think that's what America just said last night was, okay, the hot water is too hot. We got to try something different. And the frog jumped out of the water. Colorado's not there yet. But we'll get there. I do think we'll get there, because last night Colorado passed some really bad things, and it's going to keep getting worse until people wake up. And we're going to be there when they do, to offer them a different way, a different approach, a different style of leadership. So that's the theory. And I don't know what other options there are, because I don't want to leave here.
Wyoming looks cool.
It's too cold and windy. I love my Wyoming friends, but it's too cold and windy.
Are you familiar with the Liberty Pledge and what the Colorado LP did with the GOP?
Yeah.
We were surprised by how much pushback we got on that from some of the candidates who were unwilling to sign the pledge in these things where we should be strategically aligned and would work to advance the liberties of Coloradans. So I was just curious, like, what you might know, any inside baseball about or thoughts about why we got so much pushback, and from some of the big candidates.
The one thing I heard about, is there an abortion component to it?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't either. I remember hearing something about that, but at the end of the day, I was like, you guys, it's all stuff we agree on. It's the 80% rule, right? It's like, sign it, damn it. Like, come on. Like, get with the party. Let's go. And we've got to work together. We've got to build coalitions, just like Trump just did, with 3 Democrats, with Elon and Tulsi and RFK Jr. I mean, it was a beautiful coalition. It's a beautiful example of building coalitions. They don't all agree on everything, but darn it, they agree on a good amount of stuff, and they're going to get that stuff done. And that's what it should look like, and that's what it could look like in Colorado, with conservatives, with libertarians, even with some Democrats that are tired of what's going on. But I don't know that there's many of those, but yes.
We're going to do 2 or 3 more.
Okay.
You're doing great work. This is such a good presentation. My background's media, and media needs money.
Yeah.
So you're out there raising funds.
Yes.
And are you doing that by yourself, or do you have help, or
Yeah.
how's that going?
I have a little team that we all work together, and we're out educating potential donors on what we're up to. And so there's two parts of it, right? There's people who are donating $10, $20 every week or month, and that's awesome, and that's building and building and building. And then the other part are the bigger donors who've been donating to the same people and the same causes, doing the same thing for years, and it's hard to get them to try something new. But we're having a lot of success, and one of our key people who is one of our champions, Buzz Coble, Coble Construction, just passed away a couple weeks ago. It was a huge tragedy, and Buzz was a super patriot, and so it's been really tough the last month or two to kind of reset our heads and do it kind of on my own without Buzz. It's been unfortunate, but he's with me in spirit, and we're getting a lot of new people that are really interested, people who haven't donated to politics before that realize that they've got to get involved and get in the game. So I'm approaching it from more of a business perspective. Like, this is a good return on investment for you as a business owner or an employer in Colorado to help shift the culture and to give us a different perspective on what's going on. So it takes longer to do it that way, but it's kind of cool. Like, we're building this whole new army of people who want to get involved and engaged and change the state for the better, and that don't want to leave either. So,
I mean, I would imagine the business community would be very much behind this.
Yeah. Some of them, but a lot of them have been doing the same thing over and over again for years, and they donate to the same people, the same causes, the same leaders that we've been losing with for 20 years. And it's hard to break them away. They're used to it, it's habit. And so that's been a big challenge. And trying to, it's hard to admit, and I'm one of those people. I invested in some things that I look back and I'm like, oh gosh, I was part of the problem. And when you wake up and you're like, okay, we got to try things differently. We've got to turn the apple. What's that? Upside the up and the apple cart. God, you guys, I'm on no sleep. I'm not talking well. But I would love and appreciate any support you can give, and it goes straight to building Rocky Mountain Voice and growing the movement and hiring more incredible team members. Even if it's $10 a week, it makes a huge difference. Or if you come to an event, just pop $20 into the jar, and it goes to the C3, the nonprofit side. But it's been pretty cool. We're starting to get a lot of momentum.
So I think what you're doing is great. And I just wonder, how does it compare to what John Caldera, who runs this, and do you guys work together at all to kind of spread this message of the principles of liberty?
Mm-hmm. I love John. I've been friends with John for a long time, and Kathleen. And so we promote, we put Complete Colorado on our site all the time. I actually have on my to-do list to have a meeting with John and talk and just see about how we can collaborate more, because I love the Independence Institute and what John's doing. So, I've kind of had my head down just going for a while, and now I'm starting to look up a little bit and see what other coalitions or collaborations we can do. So I think there's a lot we can do. We're gonna launch RMV TV, which is hopefully a daily news show to compete with 9 News and 7 News, a live TV show. And so, I'd love to figure out if we can use the studio and film here and get some of you amazing people on camera to be reporters, because this is all about citizen journalism. We can't do this all alone, you guys. We have 3 paid writers, editors, and then the rest of our content is all created by amazing people who want to write. We have an editor who can help with that. But once we do the RMV TV too, Scott's a great example. We're going to try and build out really cool video content and also live content so that we can not have to watch 9 News ever again, even by accident.
Okay.
It was so brave of Kyle to go interview Jenna and give her a hard time, wasn't it? I think it was to get Jenna out of the governor's race so Phil Weiser has a clear path, but... Yes, sir.
Yeah. I realize that Trump's not very popular in Colorado, even among some Republicans.
Yeah.
But as somebody who's in marketing, I think what the campaign him and his team ran was pretty damn epic. I mean, I think it was just, there's a lot of great things you can take away from it.
Yeah.
What would you think we could, conservative, libertarian, liberty-minded candidates can take away from Trump's campaign and use in our campaigns in Colorado?
So a couple things. I'm a marketing person too, and so I think about, and I tried to run my campaign this way. I just didn't have the money that I needed to follow through on a lot of the things that they do. But do you know Jared Polis polls every single day when he's running for office? Like literally does polling every day on how to message, how to talk about issues, what issues people are talking about. So one of the cool things that we're doing with the Texas group is we're using AI to look over social media and see how people are reacting to conversations. And we can put out messages and say, what do you think about this? And we'll be able to read it and kind of use it to guide how we talk about issues in Colorado. And I think it's really important to start using data and technology to figure out how to talk to voters in a more effective way, just rather than just throwing, at the wall and putting together a postcard and mailing it out. Micro-targeting, we were talking about that, Jimmy, and just getting much more sophisticated about our outreach. But that costs a lot of money. And so we've got to collaborate and kind of work together to invest in doing that. The other thing is the coalition building. Like the Democrats are so good at this. And we've got all these amazing people working on different issues, whether it's Amanda, who cares deeply about the Second Amendment, or someone who cares deeply about the pro-life movement or about affordable housing, whatever it is. We've got to give them like support and resources and lift them up so they can get bigger and stronger and make a bigger impact and bring in more people to the movement. And then you've got all these little movements that are going to move together. And that's what this needs to look like in the next 24 to 36 months or so. And then we'll win in 26. We're not going to win everything, but we might pick off one statewide race. We might keep them from having a supermajority. We might win a school board or two. And that's how you start. You just start little by little. The other thing we've got to do is we've got to start getting more people involved on boards and commissions, which Kathleen Chandler does an amazing job of. And that we're starting to see the fruits of those labors. We're starting to see RTD board or school board candidates, et cetera, all over the state. And this isn't easy work, you guys. We're starting at rock bottom. We've got to just build back, but be smart about it and strategic about it and do it in a new way. And use good data and technology and resources. So it's not a sexy answer. It's all about infrastructure, but it's where we've got to start. Because we always try and skip it. If we just have the right candidate, it'll make all of that not matter. No, it's not how it works. So
that's our talk. Give it up for Heidi.
Thank you.